Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another thing where I answer Patreon questions, another Q&A. If you guys would like to ask me questions, you can donate $1 to me just for one video, and that would be fine, on Patreon, and I will answer them. Of course, this is not the only place that I will answer questions, but I guarantee I will once a month go through the questions I receive, and then I will answer them in video format. So this is the deal. We will get right on ahead. I've got note cards with different questions, a pretty good stack of them this time. So, the first one is from Limey Pony. What is your favorite fanfic? And I assume that you're referring to My Little Pony fanfics, but if you're not, actually, I really like Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality. I've talked about it before. It's a fun fanfic about Harry Potter, and actually, I think I talked about it in the last Q&A video. But the point is, it's a really interesting transformative piece that looks at the Harry Potter universe from a very rational, almost kind of scientific perspective, and I like that a lot. But in reference to My Little Pony fanfics, I really like The Star in Yellow, up until the final chapter when I realized that they weren't quite going for Eldritch Abominations. But still interesting, a good amount of suspense, pretty good fanfic. For a while I used to keep up with Progress by Joshua Talon, and I say, like, I don't know who Star in Yellow was by, but I remember Progress. Or some people refer to it as the Luna Versus series. This was written back before we didn't know what Luna was going to be like. And after we found out that Luna was totally different than the fandom imagined she'd be, he kind of quit writing. He sort of petered out and was like, okay. Because Luna was suddenly really out of character. But yeah, it was just kind of a cute series of stories about, like, Luna trying to cope with the modern world and get back in touch with how things were. Like, I think the first episode was Luna trying to cook toast with a toaster. And it was like a terrifying, horrible experience for her because she'd never seen such a thing. It got a little weird. I've talked before about how it included romance. There were these characters and they were, like, in love with each other. But it was like a doomed romance as far as I looked at it, because the characters involved were, I don't know, they were just bizarre. Like, the guy was doing things, and the girl was constantly sniping at him for the stuff that he was doing, but he never amended his ways. And I tend to find that when you do that, a lot of times the woman remembers for a lot longer, because the guy may forget and he just moves on. But yeah, that guy was working up to a divorce at some point. They were married and they, like, had a kid at some point during the fic. But yes, a strange relationship in there. But anyway, though, fanfics. From Jeremy Butler. Have you considered any other games for a fully transformative playthrough? And I believe I mentioned before that a lot of people have been recommending XCOM, and I still need to download it and have a look. I don't get a whole lot of time. I set some time aside to play with friends every now and then when I can, but like, XCOM's not multiplayer, so I want to play in a lot of multiplayer games. So I haven't had a chance to actually look at XCOM yet, but XCOM is one that's been recommended to me. Otherwise, other recommendations are welcome. Anything that I can really make a transformative playthrough of would be good. But right now, XCOM is on the table. It's in theory land. Another question: have you considered doing a scene where Rey gets her mech disabled from the MechWarrior series? And I could do that, but it would just be like the screen would be black. If I were a good enough artist that I could pull it off and have like a little bit of animation at the end of an episode, then that might be good. But I'm not a good enough artist to do that myself yet, and I can't use PetterUp's time presently. I mean, maybe later on, but probably not. We need to be working on Equestria Primates and get that taken care of. So it's been suggested to me, but unless I develop the resources to do so, probably not. Not saying that I won't, but right now it's probably not going to be something I can do. I've got one from Warp1092. What's your take on net neutrality? And actually, I did a video on this. My basic, though, my distilled take on net neutrality is that I do think that it needs to be implemented, because there's no way that I would trust Time Warner or Comcast to be fair and express good judgments on their business dealings. I'm pretty sure that they would screw everyone and ruin everything. They would just ruin the whole internet. The stuff that they talk about doing too is really shady, and I can see how it would really kind of hurt the internet. They want to do things like have like slower connections to websites that don't pay them a ransom, and that's just petty and harmful. And as it is, they really don't upgrade our infrastructure very much, and so there are countries that are starting to get faster internet than what we have. And the biggest problem with the internet being treated as sort of like an expendable commodity is that if it gets to be worse and we don't keep up with the rest of the world in terms of our online infrastructure, then you don't know what you're missing. You won't know what opportunities you lose. A lot of things are like this. If you have a really bad copyright system and people can't produce things because they're afraid of getting sued for some flimsy patent, then sure enough, you don't know what's not being produced out of fear. So net neutrality, yeah, we do need it. I think that if we don't have it, we're probably going to get... it's probably going to be harder on us than if we do have it. There will be pros and cons to it, but I am honestly in favor of the regulation, you know, because it needs to be done. We can't trust Comcast. Charles Martin, would you like help with the art for the Mentally Advanced series? And I've gotten a few a few offers for help on the Mentally Advanced series, and it might not be bad in the future. But for right now, what I need to do is I need to learn some chops as an artist and be able to do stuff for myself. And then that way I'll be able to organize teams or bring people in, and I'll know what in the heck that I'm doing. The problem with not having a lot of art experience is that if I bring people in and I'm just like, okay guys, I need this, then I would have no way of knowing whether or not that's a realistic request. And I don't know how many people I would need on a team, or how much I should realistically be paying people, or anything to that effect. I couldn't even gauge whether or not an artist is good or whether or not an artist is bad. And so if you tell me like, oh, I could draw a background in like a month, I wouldn't know if that was good or bad. And so I'm learning to draw, and I'm getting a gauge on about like, how quick I can do things at my skill level. But as far as seeking help, I need to get some roots in the ground first, and then you know, I might open up to start doing more stuff. Maybe bring people in to help us out with other projects, and we can expand into other things. But that will be stuff like I would want to pay people if I were to start to like go off into other projects with the hopes that they would be like worth doing and that they would get a following and everything like that. Then if I brought other people in, then I would keep you in the loop. I wouldn't just, I don't know. I wouldn't just be like, oh yeah, you'll work for exposure, because honestly, it's kind of a crap deal. The work for exposure thing doesn't. It can pan out, but it's pretty unreliable, and it's sort of a luck-based deal. Like you're just kind of casting the hook in the water and just like, I don't know what'll come up. But it's a lot of work putting together like actually decent videos. It takes a ton of coordination. I'd have to coordinate with you, and it would be kind of a mess if I could go into it not really knowing what it is that I'm looking at. So yeah, so not presently, maybe in the future, but not right now. Yes. Niles, can you give advice on writing female characters? And actually, I considered doing this once about writing a guide. I had a guide about just making OCs in general. There's a writer that people really liked because when they were like, how do you make such good female characters? And he goes, oh, I have this audacious notion that female characters are human. And in a fundamental way, that's true. But it's kind of an uninformative thing to say. It's like a platitude. For writing female characters, the best thing that you do need to remember is that it's true that female characters are human. So anything that you really want or anything that you want to do, you have to make human motivations and human thoughts, and like the emotions have to make sense. Like don't do ridiculous crap. But if you want to write like convincing female characters, there's also statistical trends. Like women will trend more towards certain behaviors or certain ways of thinking, and so I recommend doing a little bit of look into like psychology. Because you'll find that women have an easier time, say, like multitasking. And so if you've got women doing things... like, I remember Petterup and I were talking about how sometimes we kind of draw... Like, we've drawn the ponies just sitting, and they'll, like, talk to each other, and they're, like, not making eye contact, and they're just kind of standing around. Like King of the Hill, you know, how they stand around and they drink beer, and they just go, yep, yep, yep. Then everyone sits in silence, and they kind of drink beer, and then when they talk, like, they don't look at each other. That's more of a guy thing. And so female characters, like when you're drawing your art for female characters, they'll tend to look at people more, and or if they're doing something, they can talk and do this thing at the same time, as long as it's not too complicated. Women are a little bit more capable of that. Of course, that's a statistical thing, so if you wanted to make a female character who couldn't multitask, then that's totally realistic. There are women who don't multitask very well, and that's kind of the nice thing about writing characters, individual characters, because every individual is different. It's just, you have to remember those individual traits and their personalities and everything like that. Another thing to bear in mind is, statistically speaking, women also have stronger feelings about things. And what this is that Your emotions are used to make decisions. Like if you go to your closet and you pick out a shirt, how do you choose what shirt you like? Well, for the most part, most of us will look at our shirts and we'll say, oh, I like the red one. The red one's very pretty. And that's an emotional response. You like the shirt. The shirt's it's an emotional thing. Women have slightly stronger emotions, so they will make responses a little bit quicker to things. And theoretically, they think this might have to do probably with raising kids in a hostile environment. If you see your kids doing something dangerous, then mom will react a little bit faster than dad. And that's also probably why they think that maybe women can multitask a little bit better. It's kind of about raising kids. But these are really mild, so it's not something that I recommend that you play up a whole ton. Like, you don't want to have, unless you're writing a character who's extremely emotional, don't set out and be like, oh, all my female characters need to have like really, really passionate emotions. Because again, it's subtle, you're looking at statistical trends, and the most important thing is to get a grip on the individual you are writing. Because you can also write men who are very emotional as well. And so you could have a male character who's more emotional than any female character that you'd ever write. And if they get so emotional that they become over the top, then that's a comedy thing. And you want to remember to do the same thing with the ladies. But generally speaking, that deal about emotions, though, that's actually important. Because even when you write characters who are supposed to be very smart, you have to remember that your basic decision-making is done through feelings. Being very smart means that you can understand your feelings and why you have them, and sort of logic your way through those emotions. So, you don't want to write like really smart, like if you have a female character and she's supposed to be really bright, really intelligent, like she's a scientist or something, you don't want to write her to be like Data or anything like that. You want her to be like a person, and she's just really smart. Like, she has feelings, like she gets upset about things, but then she's smart and she thinks about why she's upset. Same goes for, like, I get really sick of the badass independent woman who don't need no man that you see a lot in movies and film, where they take a woman and they're like, we wrote a strong character, and it's like, oh, really? How is she strong? What's strong about her? And they're like, well, whenever somebody talks to her, she kicks them in the face. And that's not really, like, strong writing. That's like I once had a friend who had a cat with a brain disorder, and every time you touched the cat, it would freak out and it would bite you. So that's like a brain disorder. When you write strong, independent woman who kicked men in the face, that's like a brain disorder. Most people don't interact with society that way. Think ordinary people. When you talk to someone and you say, why, hello, good morning, that person doesn't respond by then kicking your face in. A really bad example, I thought, was Scarlett Johansson in Iron Man 2 when she played Black Widow, because they had this scene where, like, they wanted to establish that Black Widow was like a kung fu badass kinda. So they had this scene where they had the guy with the boxing gloves, and he's like, "Let's box. I promise to go easy on you because you are a girl." And so she does like a jiu-jitsu flip, and then like flies into a standing armbar or something like that. I can't remember what exactly it was that they did, but that kind of thing is actually it's sort of extreme and a little bit uncommon, because you have to remember that when you write stuff like that, like, I know the writers believed that they were writing an independent female, like, oh, he thought she was a harmless girl, look at how independent she is, though, she is a strong, independent female. What that is that's a character who's displaying, like, she doesn't have very good control of her emotions, like, she loses her temper easily. So if you do something as little as being like, you a lady, I'm a man, then she's likely to break your arm. It's a character flaw. And you can write a character that's like that. Like, you could write a woman who loses her temper easily, but you have to remember that that's an emotional thing, it's a knee-jerk deal. It's not necessarily writing a strong character, it's writing a character with a loose temper. So, and again, like I say, most of this advice generalizes to either gender, but just more commonly I see the irrational kick-face woman being written as like, this is a strong woman, look, I wrote a strong woman. It's like, no, you wrote a crazy, irrational person who kicks people in the face. So, so just, the platitude is correct. Just write a person. There's a few subtle nuances, but when it comes down to writing individuals, it's kind of up to you to understand your own individual and how it is that you want them to react. So, yes, there's that. Although you could also look at biology. I mean, like, there's a few extra things. You have to remember that if you're writing, like, a female action character, then there's stuff, I mean, like, gotta go shopping for like sports bras. I mean, there's like biological differences that you could adjust for. It depends on your genre and your setting, and whether or not money is a big issue for your character, whether or not shopping for supplies, is it all provided by the agency she works for? Does S.H.I.E.L.D. provide sports bras, or does Scarlett Johansson have to go and buy her own? Which could set you up for some amusing dialogue if you wanted to go in that direction, that sort of thing. Like, I write it off as a business expense, so, you know, human stuff. Anyway though, are there jokes that don't make it into the final cut of your videos? And yes, actually, we have stuff. I can't remember. There's always jokes that don't make it in, especially to the Rainbow Dash Presents stuff, because those videos are kind of long as it is, and so when we get to the end and we've done all our recording, we see like, oh, this is a little bit longer than we wanted, so we trim a scene out, like something that's kind of useless. Like, for example, the upcoming Equestria Primates project that we're working on had a whole scene where Luna was going to show up in Twilight's bedroom, and there was going to be some exposition and some talk about the magical keys, but it was mostly going to be in the context of Luna, in a thing that was going to be like, it's going to be a really minor side deal that was going to get wrapped up at the end of the parody. But we dropped it because it was minor and it was kind of inconsequential. It might have been sort of a neat scene, might have fleshed out Luna a little bit, but wasn't really contributing, and in the interest of time, we can't include every little detail. So yeah, there's stuff that gets cut. That's one that I could think of off the top of my head. I mean, like, every now and then with Mass, there were plenty of jokes that I would think of making, but that I couldn't make because I didn't have the source material available. Like, the ponies wouldn't stand still long enough for a scene for me to use, like, this line for this character. So, that happens. And yes. Okay, Wayward Pony. I noticed that you have a punching bag. Do you box? And do you believe in chi? You're saying there's some scientific evidence for chi. And yes, actually, back in the day, I used to be I spent about a month in Muay Thai. This is sort of the thing that got me into this is I picked up Tekken 4, and I remember I think that's when they introduced Steve Fox. I don't know if they introduced him sooner. I don't think that he was in Tekken 2, because I didn't play Tekken 3. I played Tekken 2, and then yeah. But anyway, so Steve Fox was my favorite character, and the reason why I liked him, aside from the fact that he was just really quick, was the way that they animated him. I don't know if they used mocap or what, but he just looked very fluid, almost kind of elegant, the way that he did his boxing. And I thought to myself, you know what, I would love to do something like that. Like, I just thought it was almost kind of pretty, and I wanted to do that. So I started looking into boxing, and I found a Muay Thai instructor, is actually what I did. And so for a month I trained with this Muay Thai instructor, but then something happened, and he wound up packing up and leaving. So I quit going to his classes, and then I started in on Krav Maga. And Krav Maga, it got popular for a little while. It was in media a lot. But Krav Maga is the Israeli military combat system, and it's been brought over to the U.S., but I think there's been a break between the American Krav Maga system and the Israeli Krav Maga system. But I trained with a lot of guys. A lot of them were like ex-military, a lot of police guys, stuff like that. I did that for 4 years, and I was also on the wrestling team. And so for Christmas, my parents got me a Muay Thai bag, which was pretty great. You know, that was like one of those things, like, if you could have one big gift, what would it be? And I was like, oh, like a Muay Thai bag. And so they set that up in the basement. And when I moved out, it's one of those things, like, I could not afford to buy myself another Muay Thai bag, so I just take it with me, even though the apartment complex won't let me screw it into the ceiling. Who knows if I'll ever go somewhere where that'll happen, and I'm not just going to give that up, because it's like, I used to use it. If I could set it up, I would use it again. I lived in a house for a little while, actually, and my roommate, or the landlord, had no problem with me setting it up in the garage. So that's kind of why I still lug it around everywhere, because I never know, like, what if I move to another house or something like that, I'll have another chance to hang it up and I'll use it again. So yeah, I used to be really into that stuff. I'm out of practice now, and in any case, I'm little. So even if I were in really good practice, you learn from that sort of thing. You kind of learn your limitations in terms of fighting. And a little guy like myself is at a pretty big disadvantage, bigger than you would think. I mean, it varies. Like, there's a certain amount of luck, and I don't know. Aggression plays a big part. It's hard to explain, but I'm one of those people these days who, like, anytime I see people, like, if you see people online, like, having a theory fight, like, oh, I would use my judo move to do this or do that, you always just, like, roll your eyes, because one of the biggest things that you learn about combat is that it's not a frontal lobe sort of thing. You don't think it through. It's all about muscle memory and just quick emotional, like you just learn to recognize little twists of the body, just tiny little things, like you see the shoulders dip over, and you know, like, and if your brain is really well trained, you can tell whether or not it's going to be a hook or a jab or a kick, something like that, or even if they're going to tackle you. But that's only after your brain, you start to commit to memory and you don't even think about it. If you stop to think about it, you will be hit in the face. So, do I believe in chi, though? I don't really believe in chi. I believe in what's it called? With the sugar pills, in the effect where you have the sugar pill and it makes you better at things. How could I forget this word? Yeah, you know, the one where, shoot. You know, sugar pill. Okay, I believe it's in your head. It's all in your head. Why would I not remember this? I believe it's all in your head, basically. The chi thing. So if you really like chi, if you really believe in chi, if you like to meditate, if you like to do the chi stances, then whatever, more power to you. If it perks you up and keeps you motivated, then you're free to believe in it. But personally, I think the whole concept of chi, it's all in your head. It's just something that you believe in. And placebo effect. Yes, there we go, placebo. I wanted to say like pseudo something, but placebo. Yes, it's a placebo effect. Anyway, could a fan send you stuff to be autographed? And actually, I've talked to Kenza about setting up a PO box, but presently, no, that's not something that I can do. I don't have my address listed anywhere, and I don't know if I'd want to set up a PO box just for that. Like if I ever come up with something with an idea for like a physical mailing thing, because I think that. I mean, like, if you look at, like, Noah Antweiler, he does reviews on board games, and so people send him board games. So if I ever wanted to do something like that, I don't think I have time in my schedule to take on a project like that now, but if I ever wanted to do something like that, where I was like, guys, send me horrible crap that you don't want, then I will do silly things with it, then maybe I would set up a P.O. box, and at that point, you know, you could just send me things, and I could send it back to you. But currently, I don't have anything like that set up, so it is not a thing available. From Harvey94, how much do you know about Elder Scrolls lore? And I know a smattering about Elder Scrolls lore. I played Morrowind, I played Oblivion, I played Skyrim. I didn't play the ones before that, but I know about some of the silly stuff. I know about the giant robot that causes time to shatter. I know about the what do they call them anyway? Like the dragon breach or dragon split, something like that. There's weird words for it. I know about the Khajiit that went to the moon by stacking themselves on top of each other. I know a smattering of bizarre facts about the Elder Scrolls. I would not consider myself an expert on it. And the reason Harvey brings this up is actually because my New Vegas Let's Play, I really don't express a lot of knowledge about the New Vegas lore. I mostly just have Queen Latifah stumble around the wasteland and be completely clueless, and that's kind of my angle. With the Elder Scrolls, I don't know how much I would use background info, because the games are designed in a way that they're very meta, and they have like really good gameplay, like it's fun to play, but the story's kind of weak, a little bit shaky, and you tend to find that the game's a little bit impersonal. I mean, they sort of just sort of like, whatever you want to do, you have it, here you go, player, go and do your thing. So I'm not sure how many opportunities there would be to even use my knowledge of the lore for whatever there is. With Mech Warrior, it's pretty straightforward. Anytime I want to talk about something, or I'm like, oh, a new mech, I'll talk about this new mech, I go look it up, and I find out about the mech, and I learn about, like, who built it, why was it built, like, what's good about it, what's not so good about it, what are the criticisms, and, you know, I can do that. But with the Elder Scrolls, I'm pretty sure that you would find, like, you'd walk into stuff, and it would be like, why would the average person know about this particular thing? And they wouldn't. Or like, some people believe in the Khajiits climbing to the moon on top of each other. And if I play as Peyton, and have Peyton adventures, then I would probably be a Khajiit, and I would know about the Khajiit history of going to the moon. But you know, I don't know how much that stuff would come up, because it doesn't come up very much in the game. So yes, I know some. Not a whole ton, but I know some of it. It's kind of fun lore. It's interesting. It's weird. Some of it kind of like psychedelic almost. Peter Kordash, what did you make the song "Bird's a Bad Influence" for? I actually made the song Birds of Bad Influence for My Little Dashie. At the end of that one, you hear that song playing. That's when the Joker Mort shows up, and he's trying to get Dash to stay with him because he built a device to turn everybody into ponies. Birds of Bad Influence. I think I made it because I had flute parts that sounded like birds chirping. And that was because the whole scene was just everybody trying to tell Dash how to live her life and what to do. And there was all this just stupid crap going on, and it was all kind of crazy. And then her friends just burst out of the ceiling, and here we are to take Dash home. So, that is what that was for, Birds of Bad Influence. Peter commented that I used that in Soul Reaver, and it was a pretty good background song for Soul Reaver. But yeah, it wasn't intentionally made. I did make a song intentionally for Soul Reaver. The first song that you hear while they're in that room, while Kane and Raziel are fighting, that I did make for Soul Reaver too. But Birds of Bad Influence was for My Little Dashie. Next question: will you do a radio play format for the Mentally Advanced series? And I don't plan on doing that presently. Some people recommended that I do that. Again, it's kind of like a time thing. I don't know how broad of an audience that would get. And what I'm trying to do is get like actual stuff out with like visuals that you can watch, and that'll be nice to watch. So I don't plan to do a radio play format of Mentally Advanced series. Yes. Would I do a commentary? Will I do a commentary? Will I does a commentary track for Rainbow Rocks, like a riff track? Will I do a riff tracks for Rainbow Rocks? Could be fun. Alan and I talked about doing something like that once, so maybe we could do a riff tracks of Rainbow Rocks and post that online, and then you guys could see it. I actually haven't seen Rainbow Rocks yet. I watched Equestria Girls, but that was one that I haven't taken a really vast interest in Rainbow Rocks, but if one of my friends is like, hey Greg, we should totally watch that movie, then I will sit down and watch it with them. But yes. I mean, like, maybe, but I don't know when that would be. And then, please rip my card in half. Those are requests from Peter Kordash, and of course, yes, I will rip your card in half. Okay, Meats! Who was that in the after credits of Alan Our Chosen One? Hang on a minute, let me go check. Okay, so I had a look. That was Alan's nephew or something like that, or like a cousin, maybe? He was a cousin. I don't know. He's a young kid. He was a little kid. So when Alan came out with the wrestler mascot, he was excited about that. And then Meat also says, you must dance. And I did promise I would do this in the stream. So I don't really know a lot of dances. I'll do the Carlton, I guess. Okay. That's all the dancing that we get. I'm not sure how long I can do the Carlton and stay and not lose viewers. So anyway, so that's it. That's it for my questions. If you guys have any questions and you'd like to, and you're on the list or you want to be on the list, you can go ahead and just send me a question for this upcoming month. I will answer. I guess on the first of the following month has been how this is working out for these past 2 months. So anyway, also I will give you a shout out though if you get your name on the list. And so this month I have the following names. A big shout out and thanks to Kirk Depew, Meat, Nyax, Kyle Nobley, Zoe, Shory Knight, John Curry, Lorenzo Perez, Nathan, Dylan Siddle, Jacob, Smash Lampjaw, Blue Moon, Chase Falcon, Tristan Morris, Jeremy Butler, Andy Armino, Jonathan, Severin Mahoney Marsh, Sol Raddick, Michael Frank, Dante D, Anders Olson, Ryan Simcoe, yes, Amanda, Brian Dagami, Niles, Charles Martin, Phantom 360, Park Bowman, Warp 1092, David Silver, Samuel Albert Mel, Michael Efforts, Matthew Grisham, Ryan Green, Jordan Ficus, Sirach, Austin Nugent, Jonas Henson, Ryan Skinnard, Ryan Sconnard, Augusto Nicholas Chicas, my terrible handwriting, Limey Pony, Sean Mount, Stephen Abbott, Harvey94, Robin Brown, Peter Kordash, Wayward Pony, and Kosho. So, yes, if your name wasn't on that list, but you did opt in for stuff, I think we only had one person this month, and I won't name names because I don't know what the deal is. But if you were declined, and Patreon alerted me that there was a decline, then I didn't name you, not out of spite. I'm not sure if Patreon even informs you that your card was declined or anything like that. So yes, we've also got other patrons who aren't on the list, who don't want to be named. So you don't have to be on the list if you don't want to be named. But if you like to be named, then go ahead and get yourself on the list, and I will shout you guys out at the end of the month with a big thanks. And of course, big thanks to you guys. You make it possible for us to continue doing our stuff and continue doing other silly things and to plan for future silly projects. So yes, thank you for joining me, guys. I hope I will catch you all next time.